Saba. That is my name. I'm so glad to share with you this session this afternoon. And I believe that we are not going to remain the same. I want to thank, first of all, the organizers of this workshop. I want to thank them so much because I know what it takes to organize a workshop. Thank you in particular, Bernard and other people who are behind this successful workshop. Okay, someone requesting me to share my video. It's okay. Though I'm somehow in the, don't know whether you'll be able to see me. Yeah. Are you able to see me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so glad that, and I was still thanking the organizers of this workshop. I'm so grateful. And I want to urge each and everyone who has participated in this workshop to really take every other skill that has been learned serious, because we are in the transition. You understand, dear colleagues, that this is a transition because we are transiting from the old curriculum to this new curriculum. It is not easy. It will only take those teachers that have gone an extra mile to really search for knowledge. They search for the skills. They go an extra mile of, studying, attending workshops. And I believe 100% that you guys are not going to remain the same. And I understand, as you remember from the old curriculum, the senior teachers are going to are going to be developed. They are going to be developed with time and through these consistent and continuous workshops. Otherwise, I want to thank you so much. Permit me start my session, and that is developing, as you can see on your screen, developing end of cycle assessment in new lower secondary curriculum. That is my name, and I want to thank you. Before I go into this, the session outcome, I want to let you know the session outcome. This is considerable factors for developing the assessment items and understand the types of test items to be used for end of year summative assessment. That is understanding the HOTS. HOTS is higher order thinking capacities. So that's what we are going to really understand to see that all is well. Before we dive into this, I would like to first put down this, and I share with you something about competence logic to get us started. Can you see my screen with the competence logic? Yes? Can you see my screen with competence logic? Hello, Bernard.
Yes, it's
Can you see
visible.
my screen?
It's visible.
Hello? Can you see my screen?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, thank you. Now, why am I displaying competence logic at this moment? I want us to really first understand this background very well, because this is competence-based curriculum. What does it mean by competence-based? The old curriculum was knowledge-based. This is competence-based. What does it mean
A
to
moment.
be competent?
A moment, Daniel.
A moment. Yes, you have said a moment. You let me know when you're ready. Let me know when you're ready. You let me know when you're ready. Bernard, you let me know when you're ready.
Can you hear me?
Sorry?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you only that the voice is too low, but as well.
Okay, I'm trying to switch on, switching here and there to ensure that the participants hear you well. So that's why my voice this side is using the microphone from the PC.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, you can go on.
I go on, eh?
Yes.
Okay, let me also just give me a minute and I first get my PC, my earpiece, and I kickstart. Just a minute. Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, you are clear.
Okay. I'll keep on asking for clarity in case you get me, but I've heard that you can hear me. So permit me proceed. Here we are. So this is where we had stopped, and competence logic, as I was still telling you that this curriculum basically looks at the competency. And I want us to really understand the logic about competence. That's why I'm showing you the competence logic. Permit me run this presentation here. Competence logic. What does it mean to be competent? What is being competent? To be competent is being able to mobilize a set of resources in order to solve a contextualized problem situation that belongs to a family of such. That is according to the definition according to NCDC. That we are building a competent learner, in that this learner is able to mobilize a set of resources in order to solve a contextualized problem, ladies and gentlemen. And a contextualized problem is the situation that is presented the learner in a real life situation. That's why this curriculum is basically aiming at building a learner who can be able to solve a problem by using a set of resources. And I want to let you know the source of resources that we are talking about. Members, if all of us, we have this thinking that we are building a learner that is aiming at solving a problem, a contextualized problem. That means all of us, we shall have to shift our mind to building a learner with the required set of resources. And what are these required set of resources? Number one, we have a resource called knowledge, as you can see on your screen, knowledge. We also have a resource that is, the knowledge is how they know how to do. They know how to do. Remember, the previous curriculum was basically looking at they know how to do. You get the knowledge on how to do things, regardless of the skills that you have to do those things. So that's the know-how. That is one tool. That is know how. Then they know how to be. That is knowledge. Just knowing how to be and knowing what to do, how to do, how not what, but how to do. Then the other resource is understanding. Besides the knowledge, this curriculum is building the understanding of the learner. Is the learner able to understand? 3, the skill. that as another resource that the learner needs to have to solve a contextualized problem must have what we call a skill or the skills in that regard. 3, the learner must have values. The learner must have attitudes. The learner must have the cursiva. In other words, this learner must have the cursiva. And if you go to your syllabus documents, and I believe you must be having those who have syllabus documents, you can check on a detailed page of the syllabus. You can note that under every competency, we have the learning outcome, that table that has the learning outcome. Now, under learning outcomes, so if you're so much critical, you cannot see K, U, S, can be KS, can be KU, it can be KV, it can be US, it can be, it is a mixture in that every learning outcome is aiming at building either knowledge or understanding, or knowledge and skill, or knowledge and value, or understanding and value and skill. In the learner, at the end of the day, we have a learner at the end of that topic who's able to solve a contextualized problem. Here I'm saying every competence should aim at having a learner solve what? A complex problem. And that's the aim of every topic. Every competence should aim at building, at understanding how the information applied in how the information obtained is applied or applies in the real life situation. And that is very, very key. Unlike before, here we are aiming at making sure that the learner is able to use the obtained information and apply it in the real life situation at the end of the day. Meeting the market standards of the society. And there we shall see a learner that is able to exhibit the competency. And this man said, Rafael said, learning takes place through the active behavior of the student. It is what he does that he learns, not what the teacher does. Now, it is at this point that I encourage every teacher who's watching this video, who's hearing this, that you really aim at building the learner's skills. You allow the learner to demonstrate what you do, to actively participate in what you want that learner to do, not to do for the learner, not what the learner does that allows the change of the behaviors. It is what the learner does. So you allow the learner to be able to do, to practice. You want prayer, you're teaching about computer hardware, computer startup, computer hardware and system startup. Let the learner know, let the learner touch on the machine and be able to understand that once you switch on like this, these are the processes. I've taken you into all these such that I dig a quick foundation to what I'm going to talk about the other side in a few minutes. Now, look what this syllabus here. Of course, sorry, I'm using here geometry and measures just to show you an example. I'll go back to our syllabus, the other side. Here they are saying the competence, the learner uses the angle properties of lines and shapes to solve problems. That's the competence. Now, these that you see as learning outcomes, they were learning outcomes as you see them here, to draw perpendicular and parallel lines, KS. This is what I was talking about, KS, that knowledge skill. Construct perpendicular angle bisectors, mediators, and parallel lines, US. That is understanding and skill. The first one was knowledge and skill. C, use a pair of compasses and a ruler to construct special angles. That is US. Somewhere we see describe a locus, that is understanding. Even our syllabus of ICT, we have this that you see. Now, as you come up with the a set of questions, or how to get that, because we are now trying to learn how do we develop, where and how do we start to develop what we call an end of cycle question. We develop them right from the learning outcomes at the activity 1. Now, these are the activities that you keep giving from class as the learners are learning. Those activities that you keep subjecting to the learners are coming right from the learning outcomes. So perpendicular, then the activity 2 was during that time of learning in class, constructing perpendicular angles and angles and bisectors, mediators and parallel lines, like that. Then now these, allow me, since this is not our subject, allow me just go through now. Now, 4, 5, 6, all those activities, you are building the learners what? You are building the learners competency. And here on the screen, I said, how does the learner prove his or her competency here? Remember, before I proceed, I've trained with the NCDC. I've trained at least with UNEP. And these are you see me using this. We train all the general teachers, because this pertains all general teachers. However much I'm also concentrating in ICT. So now this that I'm showing you, it is helping us to build the understanding about the logic, the background about the whole thing about competency. And that formulates the end of cycle, because that's what we are going to see exhibited or manifesting from the questions that we are receiving right from UNEP. So here we are saying, how does the learner prove his or her competence? He mobilizes the knowledge, understanding, skill, and values acquired through all the activities and tasks in the chapter. And this explains why this, to a teacher who has never bothered to really concentrate on those learning outcomes, and those, of course, we have the TGs and the LGs that are developed depending on learning outcomes. Yes, we appreciate it. But the teacher who has been so much craving to just give notes, give this, going through just for the sake of going through, you will find it hard for a learner to really attempt the standard competency. Of course, going forward, that's why we are showing you this. To some of us who have been taking it just like that, you are building a learner's competence right from the learning outcomes. And you have seen that learning outcomes have K, KU, U, S, V, VS, just like that. In that, it shows you that at the end of the day, the learner has the cursiva. So to be competent is being able to mobilize the set of the cursiva in order to sort of contextualize the problem. That's what I'm going to see in the what? In the assessment item. Permit me end this at this level, and I go back to our slide, the other side, and we continue flowing in that regard. If there is any question here, maybe I can pause and you ask, or I can move ahead directly to my presentation, and then we see that we flow, and later maybe we can allow questions to pop in. Bernard, members following, are we together?
Did you hear the voice?
Yes, Bernard.
We are following.
Yeah, okay. So I proceed?
Yes, please. There are no questions so far.
You have a question?
There are no questions so far.
Okay. Let's continue. Thank you so much. Let's proceed. Now, here we have already seen this. Now, factors. Permit me run this into a presentation mode. Okay. Permit me run this. Okay. Considerable factors for developing assessment items. Now, after understanding the other logic of competency, I now understand that we have that in our minds. And that is what should set the thinking, should set the standard for our thinking, that we are assessing a competent learner. A competent learner is the one that has those sets of resources, which we abbreviated as the Kushiva, is able to use the knowledge, understanding, and all that knowledge, understanding, skills, values, and attitudes to solve the problem that you have presented to him or her in the contextualized manner. I think we are together. Now, considerable factors. Understand, first of all, the type of assessment item developed or to be developed. Understanding what informs the nature of assessment items, like what informs, we have seen number one, which is the competence logic and the competency. Then understanding the assessment items. Now, types of assessment in the lower level curriculum. Of course, we have project-based assessment, end of topic assessment, which is an activity of integration. We have end of year assessment and end of cycle. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to zero on anything else except on end of cycle, because that is where we have interest in as of now. However, something to note that before you reach end of cycle, what lets you to come up with the end of cycle is a successful assessment on activity of integration. And two, what leads to the success of end of cycle is also how well you have handled the activities in a class, right from class. So now, permit me, I've just showed you the types of assessments: project, end of cycle, end of topic assessment, activity of integration, then end of year, then end of cycle. Now, according to UNEB, something I forgot here is the continuous what? Continuous assessment that you have already seen, some of you. The continuous assessment. Maybe next time we shall have a session on that, on continuous assessment, which is ongoing, and that's what UNEB requires now us to have submitted, or where they have put a deadline for us to keep on submitting that. Now, let's see. Now, to come up with a logical, why do we have this kind of assessment? What informs us? What informs us is this, as you see it on your screen, ladies and gentlemen, as you see it on your screen here. The first curriculum was the knowledge-based. And at that level, we are basically aiming at allowing the learner be able to remember. That is recalling facts, recognizing and recalling facts. And a little bit of understanding, that was knowledge curriculum. Ladies and gentlemen, as I speak, we have moved from this, you understand this level, you understand this taxonomy, Bloom's taxonomy. And I believe those who are professional teachers, you must have gone through this professional training where they really emphasized much about the Bloom's taxonomy. Now, we are now beyond, yes, how much we may like the understanding, the knowledge, we are now beyond just the level of the learner just be able to remember facts. The learner should be able to remember, to apply the what? The facts, applying the facts, rules, concepts, and ideas. Analyzing, breaking down the information into component parts, that's analysis. The learner with this competency-based should be able to evaluate, is able to evaluate, then is able to create. This is where we are. And if you go to the continuous assessment, they have come up with the that assessment is so much based on Davies theory and closed theory. And there we see something of that nature that is emanating, where it is allowing, you have got to test the learner's competency, the learner's ability to really to execute a task, may manifested in imitations, precision, and other things. So now we are beyond the level of just understanding and what, because we are in competency-based curricula. Now, what informs the nature of assessment? Number one, understand assessment framework. Continuous assessment items. Good enough, is now we are into that training of we are handling that training of continuous assessment items. Then you understand the test framework and then the item specification, the syllabus requirement. So in this session, as I'm progressing, I think in the next 15 minutes I'll be done. We have to understand the assessment framework. At least we are going to have an understanding on the assessment framework. Then I also put emphasis on test framework, since now continuous assessment items are going to be trained very soon, actually, from very soon. You'll get that information. Then item specification. Permit me look at this. Now, when it comes to content framework, of course, the teacher to come up with this successful item, end of cycle item, assessment item, should understand one thing: the content framework. It has expected lower level of demand. That is the conceptual understanding. Now, the content framework, it also has the expected medium level of demand. And members, these frameworks are going to be saturated. They are going to be, we shall have sessions where you'll be trained much about the content framework. But that framework has the expected medium level of demand. It also has the expected high level of demand. Now, that is now the application. And all these, from the conceptual understanding to the application, all these are developed from what we call the competence. It takes us back to what I started with, the competency. That if you understand the competency, here, even if you don't have a crammed methodology on how you understand the medium level of demand, lower level of demand, the learner will be able to really execute the task that is given to him as long as in line with the competency. Now, here we are. We also have to understand what we call the test framework. The test framework has got what we call elements of the construct. The elements of the construct. The construct. What are those components that you really want? They're like the learning outcomes. What are those components that you really feel that the learner should be able to really exhibit? Then it has what we call the topic or topics. It has what we call the competency. Sorry for the no. It has what we call the competency. It has what we call the lower level of demand of an item. Now it takes us back to what I've just explained, level of demand, where we have the CK, that is knowledge, content knowledge, then conceptual understanding, and then the application in a new situation. Members, yes, this that you see on your screen or that you hear from me, yes, you are lucky that you are getting a clue in advance about how these items are developed and where. But I want to assure you the details about all of this. Of course, they are going to come in these sessions of UNEB that are evolving, that are coming on board. And I think you must have had, or some of you must have gotten one or two, involved in one or two. So there's something that you need to note here, that when it comes to that assessment, item, to that question, as they are coming, you're coming up with that question, there are levels of demand that are considered: the content knowledge, the conceptual understanding. It goes back to what I've just showed you in the Bloom's taxonomy. Yes, in the first place, they may look to be so complex, and you're like, where are we going? No, this is where we are, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Then the application, that's what I've showed you, application in a new situation, that is the AL. Then evaluate and creation, that is from the Bloom's taxonomy. And now here we are. How do we develop the hot items? Number one, understand what we call the competence logic, which you have already understood. And then if I was there physically, I would have sampled on 1, 2 to let me know what we mean by competency. What do we mean by competency? Where I talk of the resources that the learner mobilizes to solve a contextualized problem. Then to understanding the test framework, which we have seen, we have had a clue about, though the details are not so much brought out. But you have seen that the test framework, it has the elements of the construct, has the topic, the competence, the topic, it has the expected level of demand, the conceptual knowledge, the conceptual understanding, that's the application, then the application, then the creation, and so then then 3, you understand contextualize, know the syllabus requirement. There is no way, ladies and gentlemen, someone can be successful on setting the HOTS when he or she is not familiarized with the syllabus requirements. What does the syllabus has? What does it spell out? What does it require from the learner? Those are now the syllabus requirements. Then number next, contextualize the problem at hand. That you must be in position to really contextualize a problem at hand, like the way I will show you later. Show you a sample of course, you have seen these questions. Some of you have been setting them, if not all of you have been setting, or you've been having a glance at some of these questions where we have a contextualized problem, a problem demonstrated in the statement, a problem shaded, a problem exhibited in the what? In the scenario. And the learner is able to integrate all the cursiva to solve it. Now, as you're developing something to come up with what we call the assessment item, one, of course, if you got the syllabus, like as I've already told you, that to understand the syllabus requirement, you'll find that every other topic has, before that topic, there must be a theme. To some syllabus, but to some syllabus except ours, every topic, every competence has got its own theme. The same applies to that topic. So then the topic, the competency, then the generic skill. You understand that every other assessment, every other topic, it has what we call the generic skills that the learner should be able to exhibit. And I know you understand the generic skills. Generic skills, these are skills that the learner needs to apply to have a deep understanding of the concept. These are skills that the learner needs to develop in order to have a deeper understanding or to widen the understanding of the learner. For example, if we talk of collaboration, a learner to be able to really build a competency should be in a position to collaborate. That you collaborate with the student X, Z, Y, plus even the teacher at one point, and at the end of the day, doing all that, the learner is able to build the what? The skill. Like the way you are there. The person who can collaborate very well cannot remain like the same person who has seated in one place, just looking at everyone. You'll be able to take a lot because you'll be learning from here and there, collaboration. Communication skill, learner who's able to communicate. Now, those are the generic skills. I don't want to dwell so much on them because you already know them. That's my assumption. Then now, under levels of demand on learning outcomes or levels of demand, we have what we call the content knowledge, the conceptual understanding, the application in a new situation, then evaluating and creation. Now, someone would ask, where do we use all these? Where do we apply all these? Now, these ones are applied as you come up with a question or you come up with an assessment item. You think about which knowledge is the learner required to exhibit in this. For example, if the topic is about information access and sharing, you understand that topic. You just know that as I'm setting an assessment item, I'm coming up with a scenario. Which content knowledge am I eyeing at? 2, which conceptual, besides the content, but the conceptual understanding, am I able to see from the learner? I'm going to give you a sample. I set for you a sample there. I just pray that you follow me keenly. I want to ask Bernard whether members are following. I don't want to talk to myself. Yes, Bernard, are members following? Are we following?
Everyone is following. No one is making noise.
Okay. So that's what I was requesting for, that we follow keenly. Now, I was still giving an example for information, the topic of information access and sharing. You're setting something should be able to allow the learner use that content knowledge. Then something should be able to really allow the learner to automatically exhibit the conceptual understanding. That is when we shall see a learner, when he's answering such a question, is able to argue, to explain in the deep perspective of the core knowledge of that topic. That is now the conceptual understanding. If you set something and cannot really allow the learner demonstrate that, that means you're not following a test framework. Then 3, application in new situation. Now, you have, as you've been teaching this learner how to use information access and sharing, as the physical, the online sharing mechanisms, blah, 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 in that line, you have now set a situation or a scenario where the learner, you must be able to see the learner being able to extract what was learned, the content, the understanding, and you are able to see this learner being in position to interpret the set scenario or the set situation and is able to give a solution. That's what we mean by application in a new situation. Are we together? Yes, Bernard. Okay. Yes, in a new situation. Then evaluate, like as I told you, as I showed you here, that when it comes to evaluation here, what I showed you here, that when it comes to evaluation, that judging the values of information or ideas, that at that level, the learner is able to judge the value of information, or ideas that should come out to, at the end of the day, this learner be able to, you are able to tell that this learner has gone just beyond the level of just understanding, but is able to judge that, but this is what they have talked about here. You remember the other UNEB question where they said, and someone was in the lab was hijacked by someone, they broke into the windows, they came in, and then they destroyed the stuff, and later on, the lab technician came around and gathered everything and put them aside. Now, we at that level, we are able to see, we are testing as to whether the learner is able to really evaluate that after putting these things aside, is it true that all of them should be set abreast? Is it true that all of them are no longer of use? Or should we just dump them there? That's when now we can be able to see the learner integrating in that there is a topic of waste management or waste management. And it's like, how do we handle the waste? Now, the other topic was the topic of introduction and safety of equipment. Now, that's when the learner is able to judge. You are able to see that is coming, being demonstrated by the learner. The learner whose mind is fixed and is unable to really ever judge, get stuck at that level. Or explain, you can see that getting stuck by seeing the learner's ideas being far more from what you expected. And this takes us back to this, what I was trying to explain here. Then creation is where now we see the learner being able to combine component parts into something. And that's now the product that you want. Permit me proceed. I've just explained this, but of course, when we have a physical session, of course, we can even go ahead. We use different topics. We can choose topics from the syllabus. Then there we set something. We extract the generic skills. Then we present our scenario under content. We present something under content or a question scenario that which particular skills will come out, which particular content that we would expect, the understanding that we would expect at the end of the day, you see it coming out properly. Of course, this is what I was talking about, understanding the assessment items, based on your knowledge of discuss what is meant by situation test items, explain the science features of the item, present. Of course, we can't present this because we are online, but I mean, it goes back to what I told you, that you can still, we would have it and we try out, but for purposes of your own understanding and trying out, you can snapshot that, take a picture of that, and you during your free time, try out something in that regard. By the way, they will share my WhatsApp number. Then when you try out something, present it to me. I remember conducting some other workshops still in the central here, and people tried out something and we were sending on my WhatsApp, others on my mail, and we were trying really to critique one another, and members later on appreciated. So you can take a picture of it, and then you try out something, because members, I want to assure you, someone who's going to go an extra mile is someone who's going to become a star tomorrow. Now, permit me proceed here. Situation items. Situation test items are test items which assess the individual elements of a competency. Remember, members, why am I talking about situational items? These assessment items, they are situational in nature. Situation in such a way that they are expressed in the contextualized manner. They shared for us a given situation. And here we are saying that as test items which assess individual elements of a competency, the understanding, that's comprehension, the skills, values. And something to note here, ladies and gentlemen, still on bullet number 2. In the lower level curriculum, new level curriculum, these items assess individual learning outcomes, the building blocks or the building bricks for developing the competency. You understand that to come up with a competency, you, like the way I've already explained, you build one learning outcome after the other, and at the end of the day, someone is able to come up with something. That is what you should note, ladies and gentlemen. We are not getting these assessment items from the blue. There's a given class of teachers that I was trying to interact with, not trying, that I was interacting with. Someone, we reach a level of trying out to set something, crafting a scenario, an assessment item. And someone said showed us an assessment item, demonstrating just the situation he could have went through as he was coming to school. And then when we asked the fellow, he said, no, you told us we bring a problem and the learner should solve a problem. I mean, what should be at the back of your mind as you come up with this are the building blocks. And you're going to see it coming out very well, even from the samples that the neighbor has just said. You see that they assess the sample, they assess the individual components of the learning outcomes of the competency. Now, allow the teacher, these assessment items allow the teacher to assess a large and potential representative sample of the syllabus. Members, take note of that very fast. That you can have a situation that can be able to allow you, or where a teacher is able to set a question with a representative sample of this, whereby you've combined more than one learning outcome. A good for measuring learners' organization and synthesis of learned material situation. Now, situational questions focus on assessing skills higher than recall of facts or recalling of learned material. Here we are not basically looking at allowing the learner to recall, just to recall the learned material, but we basically aiming at seeing the learner being in position to use high order thinking capacities. They assess skills higher or high order thinking skills. Let's come to this, ladies and gentlemen. Situation testing items. They present a learner with the problem situations to be solved. That is number one. 2, task the learner to search his or her cognitive domain in order to come up with relevant learning, which is necessary for solving the problem presented. So the learner should be able to use the cognitive domain to be able to really solve the presented problem. They are designed to assess the achievement of the competence. And they focus so much on higher order thinking skills, which are the HOTS, high order. Are very similar to activities of integration is used in assessment. They are very similar to the activities of integration, or the activities of which activities of integration come at the end of the topic. And they are scored using the assessment grid. Now, how do we develop the assessment item? Developing a sample item. Number one, members, we are saying that we depend on learning outcomes as reflected in the syllabus. That is number one thing that you should note as a teacher. 2, identify the competences that the scenarios will be designed to assess. I mean, you can have you can identify the competencies that the scenario will be designed. What do I mean by this? That we can have one scenario that encompasses or that integrates different competencies. I'll take you back to the example that I used about some UNEB sample, where we have someone who entered the lab, broke into the lab, spoiled things, took some of the items, and the technician is coming in, like, I'm gathering this stuff, I'm putting that question integrated 2 competencies. So you can think of which topics are you going to integrate. Does not necessarily mean that you can concentrate on one topic. You can have one scenario whereby it integrates in other competencies. That's what you should not members. And that we call it pedagogy of integration. And that's what UNEB likes so much. That's why you see questions of UNEB are now coming in that perspective, the little bit of high notch than the ones of CBC, if you remember. and takes time to takes only those individuals that have really taken trouble to be the other side and understand it and able also to understand this other side. Now, define the performance criteria, actions that students will demonstrate in order to meet their competency. Those are now the steps that you really define out in the assessment grid or the scoring grid. Not something that the learner is going, that allows the learner to present a solution.
Hello?
And then for you sit in the corner, you're like, I think this one deserves this. Consistent step. Oh, there must be have to. Hello? Okay. Oh.
It's okay, you can proceed.
Hello?
Your network was breaking.
Sorry?
Your network was breaking a bit, but you can proceed.
Yeah, someone was trying to call me that put don't disturb, but when someone calls the network, disturb
Okay.
goes a bit. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, permit me. But I don't know whether members are following. So I was on bullet number 3 at define the perform. There must, dear teacher, I'm talking now to the individual teacher, dear teacher, there must be a performance criteria for what you have said for the learner. The action is that the learner will demonstrate in order to meet that competency, in order for you to see that this learner is really competent. Number 3, identify the context in which the scenario will be set. Sit after identifying that, you know what, these are learning outcomes, these are the competence that I'm targeting now, and the performance criteria is going to be like this. Now sit down and you're like, now, how best can I present this in a contextualized manner? So this may involve selecting real life situations or creating fictional scenarios that allows the learner to apply the knowledge, the skills, the values, the attitudes. In the workplace setting, it can be in the church, it can be along the road, it can be in any situation, in any environment. Members, if you dare to understand these steps here, you're going to be good, like good setters of assessment items. Permit me come to this. Permit me come to this other. Now look here, I was showing you an example here using your neighbor sample shared there above. Sorry. Let us first, we're going to that first statement. I'm saying computer systems here. We are seeing introduction to ICT. The competence is the learner understands the concept of ICT. Help me, Mr. Kagana. Help me, my water. My water. The learner understands the concept of ICT and related terminologies, its benefits, and the required safety precautions. Now, that is the competency. And if you look at this competence down here, the learning outcomes, the syllabus says the learner should be able to explain the concept of ICT and related technologies. B, know the common ICT tools and their use in various fields. C, use various ICT tools. For a D, appreciate the safety precautions. Now look here. Now this, we are going to see it. I'll show you in a sample later. Now let me I set for you some sample question here, depending on that that competency. Someone should read for us. Someone should read for us. Okay. Let me, I read by myself. Someone is reading?
Yes. Can you hear him?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to read the first one,
Yes.
which says several businessmen at your village have been having consistent meetings. Finally, they are planning to start up a mega modern city, which will have many areas of ICTs and systems, including a public computer laboratory, supermarkets, malls, etc. Now, the second paragraph says they are still confused as investors on how they will incorporate ICTs in that city and how best to handle the ICT tools.
Okay,
Mr. Opoka,
thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you. So we are seeing a scenario. Thank you so much, sir. We are seeing a scenario where several businessmen, sorry for the first mistake, at your village have been having consistent meetings. Finally, they are planning to start up a mega modern city, which will have many areas of ICT systems, including a public computer laboratory, supermarkets, malls, etc. And that is what they have shared for us. And they're like, men are seated there and they are businessmen. They want to set up a mega city. We understand what entails a mega city. And that has many areas of ICT system. Of course, even talking about mega cities, a mega city, just know her. Okay, mega modern city, you just know what entails a modern city. And members, I want to assure you right now, the questions are still a little bit open, but with the time after 1-2 years, they're going to be hidden. Like now, this I don't need to mention, which will have many areas of ICT. Mere talking of mega modern city is just enough just enough trigger to really allow the learner to think of what is modern, because modern is implied. Now, they want to set up that. Now, they are still confused as investors on how they will incorporate ICT in that city and how best to handle the ICT tools. Mr. Pokenon, village chairperson, is appointed as a technical person at the village to advise during the business investors workshop that will be held next week on technical matters of ICT. But he seemed to be disturbed. So the Opoka who has been chosen. Remember, our topic, our competence here is understand the concept of ICT and health technologies, benefits, and that's the competence and safety precautions. Here we are seeing, now what we are targeting, we are seeing C should be at least talked about, B should be at least be demonstrated by the learner. You see learning outcome B. Of course, A is where now we are going to see, because we shall see the assessment grid later, that the learner should give a brief introduction. That's where we shall see A coming up. What is the ICT anyway? What are these ICT? What do we mean by something of that nature? Then we must be able, in that, we must be able to see the learner being able to talk about the common ICT tools that should be used in various fields. Since now it is a mega city full of different areas. They have talked about supermarkets, they have talked about malls, they have talked about computer laboratory, and now we must be able to see the tools identified by the learner and how they are being compared into that, and see the use of those tools. Are we together? Then now let's come here to guide Mr. Poker in the presentation is making on one difference between different ICT tools that need to be incorporated in a different potential section of the city. Remember, here I'm following the enable samples that were released. Here, this question here is a little bit open. But with the time here, it will be hidden. I gave you an example of B. Okay, let me first finish B before you go to A. The likely threats to different ICT tools and, The likely threats. Sorry, my screen here is obstructing the screen. Okay, the likely threats. Where are you? The likely threats. Now here we are targeting this CD, appreciate the safety precautions for the ICT tools. If someone does not appreciate the safety precautions, that means there will be some threats, and that's what I mean in B. Likely threats to different ICT tools and likely safety precautions. That is open in line with the previously released samples of UNEB. They are not related, but I mean, following that guide, they were a little bit open like that. But before, for us who are trained as national trainers by any CBC, that question will be so much hidden. And this is what will happen after 1-2 years and above. Assuming you are the head, you are assuming you are heard by Opoka. Prepare an article that you will base on to elaborate on the issue at hand, so that even the investors will find it necessary to hire you as a technical person in their mega city. I don't know whether that is what I say. In their mega city, in their hire you in such a project. Now that with time it will go back to that level where the learner should be able to think about the different IC tools and how they are incorporated into the city, and then talk about automatically the safety precautions or the likely threats in case the safety precautions are not observed. So that it be that's why that be because one number now A and B sound
We can wait for him to rejoin. His network is a bit jumpy.
Is everything okay? Hello? Hello?
Is everything okay on your end?
Yes, it was okay, but I saw some kind of shifting live streaming on YouTube. It's okay.
It has been there from the beginning. You can reshare your screen and proceed.
Are we together? Me? I've lost you. I can't hear you, Bernard.
Your network is
You
a
can
bit
hear me?
breaking, but yeah, rejoin. I mean, you can reshare your screen.
Oh, okay. Let me know if you can see my screen.
It's visible.
Okay, thank you. Now, I was saying, after having understood the other part, as a teacher, you must, it is a must, in capital letters, you come up with what we call the assessment grid or the scoring grid. And this, unlike before with the NCDC, because I know some of you haven't yet gotten a touch from you. Because these trainings are on as proposed. And I think it's also evident from the samples that you've already received. This is the format. You show competence as per that table. The competence that you see, one, you must be able to see a learner providing a focused introduction. And this is where we shall see the other component of the syllabus here, where we can see the concept of ICT and maybe related terminologies coming up. Now here we shall see it manifesting from that focused introduction. And I want to charge you to go back and look what all the scoring grids of UNEB, the first statement is that. And now here you should emphasize your learner to be able to give that introduction that shows that the learner is far much okay, not far much, but at least is conversant with the topic at hand or with the competence. And that one is ever awarded the 1 mark for providing that is the evidence, the skill or ability exhibited. You can see that and then you get a mark. The number 2, describe. Now you come to the gist of the matter. In this question, that I should have described the minimum number of IC tools and their uses in various fields. The first question, the first task, the subsection of the first task, that is A. And here we are supposed to see the following: identify and describes 5 to be incorporated. Those are 5 what? 5 tools, sorry. 5 tools to be incorporated in the listed or more different potential sections of the megacity. When I say listed, this is what I mean, ladies and gentlemen. When I say listed, this is what I mean. That somewhere here, I said somewhere here, let me see. Somewhere here, if you read the last statement of the first paragraph, the first bullet, where we said, okay, let me start from the second line. Mega city, which will have many areas of ICTs and systems, including public computer lab. That is number 1 area. Then I should be able to show us at least some equipment that can be used in the lab, the tools. Or now those are the listed areas. Supermarkets, malls. Then I can even go ahead and add more other too. A digital camera can be used in a supermarket to monitor the security because it can be able to record whatever that is taking place, whichever activity that is taking place in and outside the supermarket and being recorded. That is 1. Then the learner goes to another. We must be able to see that man. So this is what this is what we meant here. Then the learner lists those and lists also the applications. And such a learner who does it so can be able to get it 4. And then 2, the other category can be able to get 3 if it describes, identifies and describes 3 to 4. Then he can be able to get it 2 where you see 0 2, where the learner identifies and describes 1 to 2. Can be able to get 1 where the learner describes 1 at least. Can get 1. And at the end of the day, if the learner has not said anything, this learner gets the other has no response. Of course, the learner will not get anything. This one's supposed to be 0. And that is the 0. Sorry for that, 0 1. So then that is now the assessment. Now let me take you back to this sample here, and you also have a reflection as you compare it with what I've just showed you, as I'm summarizing the next 3 minutes, and then we allow QA questions. Now look what the sample from UNEB. Isaac is currently running a stationery shop where he sells scholastic materials and provides photocopying services only. On daily basis, clients are inquiring about passport-sized photos, business reports, statistical data, and formal letters. He's concerned that he may lose some of his customers due to limited services. He contacted the company dealing in ICTs, which sent a brochure bearing some of the ICT tools showed below. Now here, the ICT tools have been brought, and they are talking about this man running a stationery shop. And these ICT tools here, all of them can be used in a stationery shop. However, there are also other services that are being demanded by some of his clients, and he does not have them. And they are all depicting use of ICT tools in the real life situation. And here we are testing the learner, given the limited knowledge on the ICT tools displayed on a brochure. Isaac failed to select which ICT tools would be appropriate for his business. Guide Isaac to select the appropriate tools that will help him improve his services and retain his customers. The learner should be able to go and identify which other customers we are seeing, maybe running passport size photos. Now, according to the pictures that I see here, which equipment, which tool, which ICT tool can best be used in taking passport sized photo, and why? That one you will be able now to guide. And it identifies another and the guides, statistical and formulator, which ICT tools and which, and guides. Advise Isaac on how best can maintain the ICT tools. Now we are seeing this as the last learning outcome, also coming out. And I think this gives concreteness to what I've just explained to you in regards to the basis for setting up an assessment item. And once you see this, there is high order. We are not requiring just for just a recalling of facts by the learner. No, it is something very big that the learner has to sit and integrate in their thoughts and uses the cursiva to really attempt this entire thing. So members, this is it. Now, if you look at what you need provided, still that's the scoring grid. And the key points that we should take here, as I'm summarizing, number one, with situation tests, number one, assessing single competence. However, UNEB says you can also set more than one, you can integrate more than one competence. Then I include, though integrating more than one competence, you must be a man. Hey. Two, include relevant support.
Hello, can you hear me? Daniel, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, though the voice is too low.
We need to go for lunch.
Hey, I've finished.
Let's use like. Okay. Okay,
in
finish.
the next 2 minutes.
This is the. All right, all right.
In the next two minutes, I'm done. Or I'm getting done. Then provide clear direction. And last here, and this takes us back to what I explained. Tasks should not be interdependent. Scoring grid is guided by the universal assessment criteria. Then scoring do not depend on the number of points. And this high order thinking you must have identified from analysis, evaluation, and creation on your right. That is high order thinking. The low order thinking, you remember this is the taxonomy I'm talking about. The assessment focuses on high order thinking skills, and that's what you can see. Now the take home is here. Choose the subject topic from the syllabus and use your knowledge of situational items. Develop one situational item and evaluation grid. Share your response. You can share that response with me. Task it, set it. Then with the time, you take a picture of it. Or actually, it is even better you typeset it and then you send it in a thread document. I can be able to embed even the comments within. Because if you just snapshot it, I'll not be able to attach comments. But if you typeset it, I can attach comments. And then I think Mr. Waku, you know this better. You can guide them further on how to do that. And then they can say, no problem, we shall help. But members, we're just here to help one another to see that we are better teachers in that regard. So do that, and I know you'll not remain the same. If you can, I'm also very busy, but I know we can spare some kind of time here and there and see that we help one another. I want to thank you so much, members. I want to thank you for your active for your attention, and I want to thank you so much for giving attention to me. My name is Daniel Mutiaba, and I'm so glad to interact with you this afternoon. I want to wish you a nice lunch. In case there are questions, Mr. Kakulu will inform me how to handle them, and I'll be able to come in case I'm needed. Okay, thank you so much. Back to you, Mr. Kakulu.
Okay, thank you very much, Daniel, for that session.
You're welcome.
You're going to share the session slides on my WhatsApp, and then I share with the team here.
Okay.
And in case there are questions, I request members here to join that WhatsApp group so that we keep the communication going on. In case there are questions, you post in that group and you will be able to respond. And also we can share our activities or the work we shall have done in the group so that we get more guidance. I and him will be there to respond to your queries.
Okay. Thank you so much.